Welcome back to the Renewed Homestead, everybody. I'm Ben.
Denise.
And we've got a special video for you today. We have been here 1 year. A year ago today, we got the keys to our property. We drove up in the RV and I promptly dropped the back end into the creek.
Yep.
And so it began. But we got to meet our neighbor that way. I tell you what, no quicker did I get out of that RV as it was sitting at a good list. My neighbor Larry was right up behind us, had his tractor, and was helping us try to pull that thing out. It was quite a start. So, a year later, now I know there are some YouTubers out there you can watch that will tell you that they've raised a homestead from scratch in a year. Bullpucky, as Colonel Potter would say. No way. We got this property a year later, and I tell you, we had, like some other YouTubers, we had infrastructure. We had a well, we had electricity, we had a roof over our head, even though we chose not to move into that. And yes, we are still in the RV. We had the infrastructure here. We had flat area to put in a garden, excuse me.
We had to clear a lot of the land, and it was a lot of work. It was definitely a lot of work, but we had a home, even though we had to gut it, and thankfully we did, because it was not safe at all.
Well, we'll get into that. We gutted it, but then now it's really been gutted. I mean, we took it down to the studs. Well, now the studs are gone. I mean, that's how far down we are to, now we're just a shell, but that will be an upcoming video, but we're getting some great progress with that. But
yeah, it's if you actually want to see a channel that actually built their entire home, their everything from scratch, you go see Red Poppy Ranch. He actually built his home from the bottom up. There was no well, there was no electricity, there was nothing. They actually run completely on solar.
Yeah,
in Idaho.
Yeah, there's no road. He had to cut down trees to get onto the property to even get started. That is starting from scratch.
Yes.
And he did not do it in a year. I think he's about 4 years into it, and still doing improvements there in their house and all. But you go check him out. It's very good detail documenting the whole thing. But so yeah, we've got so much going on and so many things we want to do. And of course, you know, I've still got a 9 to 5 to pay for things. And you can hear our ducks, you know, they're doing well, and you can go back and check out those videos. And something else special happened today. We hatched our first guineas. Now, we've had others.
Keats, technically.
Guinea keats, yeah. Yeah, in the incubator. We haven't put anything in the incubator before, and they hatched today, 7 of them. There's another one, pipping, I think they call it. And then we have some duck eggs in there, and we'll see. I don't know if those are gonna.
I think our duck's a little too young. I think our male duck's a little too young, but you never know, right?
We'll see. It was running anyway, and we had space, so
worth trying.
In they went. So.
And we have seen our male duck doing his
maleness.
Yes.
doing what ducks do.
Yes, poor girls.
Except for swimming in the pond.
Yes.
Go figure. They'll get in the creek, and they'll get in their water dish. But you chase them down to, well, not chase, but walk them down to the pond, and they get in and right on out.
They'll get in for a couple of minutes, and then they run out. I think they're a little defective. We love them, but I think they're a little defective.
Yes, definitely. but so many things.
It's a warm day.
It is a warm day, and you know, we've had some rain. We had the hurricane come through and dumped a lot of rain, which we really, really, really needed. The garden's very happy, but with that, you have the problem that things were really dry, and then we got a lot of water, so we've got a lot of tomatoes splitting, and some of the other fruits are splitting, and I don't think you can see it yet, but right around us the goldenrod is blooming, and according to our neighbors, they say the old timer said, when the goldenrod blooms, you've got 6 weeks till your first frost. I'm not ready for frost yet. Our garden's still growing. We've got cantaloupe that are about this big that are just teasing me because I can't wait for those. I think probably in a few days we'll be picking our first watermelon.
Yes, watermelon's just about ready. Our Cushhaw squash is just about ready too.
The corn's doing okay. It seems to be struggling, but you know, it's our first time growing that as well.
Well, we do have ears of corn, especially on the Thomas Jefferson, and the Indian corn is thriving.
Yeah, that's true. They're doing okay. I think that we're going to get to enjoy a few ears, but especially with the Thomas Jefferson, I think a lot of those are just going to be seed saving for us for next year.
And if the frost comes early, then
yeah, they're done. But no, we have learned a lot. We've been very blessed in so many ways. Wonderful neighbors, wonderful friends. And actually lucky too, because the RV, we've had some issues with the electrical, and it could have very easily have caught on fire. And anybody who's seen an RV go up, it's not pretty and very, very scary. So we've been fortunate with that. Yes. We've got our garden in, and it was a lot of experimenting with that. We didn't, it's here or there, let's try this. We experimented in Arizona. Our tomato plants came up, they struggled, they weren't very big. Here, we planted them way too close. I mean, they are just
massive.
They're squeezing each other out, and we couldn't even keep up with the, pinch off the sucker and let it grow. And no,
they went crazy.
Yeah,
so we planted. What we've learned is we planted too many tomatoes, even though we're grateful because it's a good problem to have too much, and we're jarring a bunch of that.
And the extra can go to the birds.
Yes. So we planted too many tomatoes, and I think we definitely planted too much squash. Yeah. Even though we like squash, but we did not plant enough green beans and peas. So next year we will definitely do a lot more green beans and peas, but this is a learning experiment. There's a lot, like we had never grown pumpkin, we had never grown okra, we had never grown squash.
Yeah.
We had grown tomatoes, and we had grown strawberries, and we had grown beans and peas in Arizona and a few other things, but nothing to this scale. We had never even grown, I think you had grown sunflowers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A couple. Actually, some of the seeds that are coming up by the shop are seeds that I saved from the sunflower I grew in Arizona. But again, they were pretty meager plants, and we had to water pretty much 3 times a day to keep them alive in the summer. And here,
it grows like crazy.
Yeah.
And we planted for the first time. We got seeds from an American Homestead for and I may be butchering this, a chocha. It is a South American type cucumber. So we went ahead and planted those, and those have actually done really well. I think next year we'll probably plant more just standard cucumbers. They're okay. They're not my favorite though.
They don't have a lot of flavor. They're if you check them out on American Homestead, they look spiny. They're soft spines. You can eat them when they're young. And again, they don't have a lot of flavor. They're kind of like a cucumber. We haven't tried cooking them. We heard
Zach at American Homestead.
Yeah, he was saying cut them up and throw them in stir fry, and they're really good that way. Now we haven't had that opportunity, but
we'll try that here in the next week or so and let you know how it goes. But I'll put a picture in the video so you can see what they look like on our vine.
Yeah,
and they're cool looking.
They are, and eventually maybe they'll become part of the food forest.
Yeah.
So
that's another thing that we've learned a lot this year. I'm actually in a permaculture design class right now, learning how to make sure, because we've always desired to work with nature and not against her. We don't want to use chemicals. We refuse to use chemicals. We want to utilize the things that Mother Nature has given us, and the permaculture class has really been helping me identify where we can be better, where we need to improve, and there's still a whole lot we need to learn. I just started about 4 months ago. I think I started the class, so I've still got quite a bit to go.
Yeah. Well, and we had the concept of, growing up in Arizona, they always talk about the 3 sisters, the corn and the beans and the squash, I think it is. I know, leave a comment if I've got that wrong, but I think that's it. But I had the concept, but didn't know that was permaculture. And then we started watching Billy and Michelle over at Permapasture's farm, and they're close by, and they've become great friends of ours, and we've learned so much from them. And I learn much better that way, hands-on, than I can pick some stuff up from videos. Don't ask me to read something, because that's when I go to sleep. So
he leaves it to me to do the reading.
She likes to research. That's her thing.
I do. I'm a researcher.
Me, just point me in the direction, and I'll go get it done. So as to the best of my ability, that is. Yes. But our sheep, I keep checking, because we've seen the baby lambs. Well, the oldest of the baby lamb has decided he doesn't want to he wants to hang out with the others. But even though he gets shocked going under the electric fence, every day he comes out, then he stands up on the hill and yells at us because he wants back in.
So yes, he will be going by soon, and,
yeah,
and in a couple of weeks, a couple of the sheep we will be processing, and I believe we're going to be working with Billy at Permaculture's farm. He's going to come and show us how to do that, and we'll be sharing that with you as well.
Right.
So this will be our first foray into like butchering a larger animal. The first time we processed chickens was at Billy's.
Yeah.
So we're you know, it's definitely been a learning year, and I think it's definitely more difficult when it's, you know, an animal that you've been raising.
Sure.
But that's why we're here, right?
Yep.
And that's we want to grow our own food, and we want to give them the best life possible while we raise them for food. And some will not be, you know, like Tilly and Ramses are our breeding pair, and we'll probably keep one of the other females, so they will stay with us. But then their offspring will we can sell some, and then we'll also be eating some. So
yeah.
And everybody that we have talked to, especially William at Permaculture's farm, has told us that Katahdin meat is amazing. So we will let you know. He says it's better than steak. I'm not sure I buy that, but I'll let you know. I love a good steak.
We'll do a blind taste test and see how she does.
We could do that.
Yeah.
So,
but
so since we've been here, and we know that everybody learns and everybody makes mistakes, but what are 3 things that you think people, knowing what you've known over the last year, what are 3 things you think people should know before they move on to a homestead or contemplate homesteading?
Well,
I put you on the spot with that.
You did. I'm on the funny side. I want to say get some tighter fitting clothing, because I've dropped quite a few pounds. Quite proud of that. I haven't dropped that much weight, but I've shifted.
I give him a big head.
Well, yes, but I'm wandering around trying to keep my pants up.
Yeah, you've lost quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, but that's good. I needed to. I was pretty lethargic sitting at, you know, my nine.
We were in Arizona, and you know, I mean, and we gardened and we like to be outside, but we couldn't, not to this extent, especially not in the summer.
No,
not in Arizona. There's no way.
No, but 3 things. Well, it isn't for everybody. I know, you know, you can watch the shows, you can watch the YouTube videos, you know, renovation shows and things like that. Oh, well, you know, half hour later and you've got a whole beautiful house after stripping it down to the studs and all that. Well, movie magic and a whole construction crew, it's a whole lot different when you're doing it yourself. And, you know, you really gotta decide if you've got to know yourself well enough to know your amount of energy. You know, I talk about it. I will literally run from the back door out to the shop or to the barn and run back, just because by the time I get off work, you know, I've only got so many hours of daylight and I want to get so much accomplished. And it's, you know, and part of that, it is frustrating because there aren't enough hours in the day. There's so many things I want to do. And I've consistently use the analogy, there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, because, you know, I'm trying to work on, say, the house. Well, I look out the window and there's dumb lamb wanting in the.
We have to get the fencing done.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
that's another.
See, you're jumping
yes.
ahead of me there. The lamb's yelling at me that he wants back in, so now I got to go chase him in. So, all right, well, tomorrow I could work on the fencing, but then I'm not going to get the work done on the house that I was already in the middle of. So, you know, and it's just, you know, one thing follows another. So there's a lot. Sometimes I will catch myself. I will be halfway in between the shop, the barn, or the house, and I just stop and it's like, which direction do I turn? What's next? What do I, because everything's A1 top priority because it all needs to be done. Well, but
you also have ADD. Like he seriously has ADD. So that also, yes. So I try to write lists for, okay, these are the most priority and this is what we do. And like, I'm very organized and very like this, right? So I'm thinking, okay, we do this first because the fencing will only take us a weekend. We can have friends help. So let's get that done. Then we'll go in here and do this. And then we'll go in here and do this. But your mind doesn't work that way. Your mind is 15 miles an hour. I've got to do 15 things.
Right.
And then your mind kind of like, oh, well, crap. What do I do now?
But, so like today, we had guinea geese born. So, you know, I was working on the house, so we had to drop that and go get them set up.
We thought we had a few more days. We were actually planning in a few days to actually set up their brooder. We thought we had till the 26th.
Something like that,
yeah, and they, you know, we actually miscalculated, obviously, so.
Right, but in the middle of working on getting the heat set up with the heat lamp and all that out in the shop, you know, here we see the lamb up on the hill yelling at us, and then somebody says, we really got to get that fence done. What would you like me to drop the guinea Keats and we'll go do that now?
You didn't say to drop.
I know. But it's just, there's just so many moving parts that you've got to be flexible. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Well, and we did things a little backwards though too, right? Like everybody says to get your housing done first.
Right.
I didn't feel comfortable with that, looking at the world, looking at inflation, knowing that there were supply chain issues, and even past COVID, there's supply chain issues. You know, I know people trying to say it's not, but it is. It's just a fact. And for me, you know, we talked about it and we felt that it was far more important to get our food security because we have an RV, right? We have a roof over our head. If something happens, we can go to the shop and, you know, build a room in the shop if we had to. So we have options here. So for us, it was more important for us to get some food security just in case and then get the house going. So most people say get your house done, but we had an RV. And I mean, we were eager to get out of the RV. We're done living in, you know, 100 square feet or whatever it is.
With 3 dogs.
With 3 dogs,
and
2 cats, right? But, you know, but at the same time, it was really important for us to have that food security. So we did it a little backwards.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, and we couldn't wait an additional 6 weeks to put the garden in. The garden had to go in when it went in. So literally everything.
And it went in late as it was because of the May frost.
Yeah, but it's, you know, some things just have to be dropped and other things take priority. So
so you would say be flexible.
Yeah, got to be flexible. You know, and I tell my kids this all the time: make a list. Make sure you're making a list, whether it be your finances or just things that you want to accomplish, you know, in the next week, the next month, the next year, the next 10 years. Just kind of gives yourself a good status check of you know, keep your mind right, I guess.
So your 3 things are, it's not for everyone, and that's okay. If you decide it's not for you, that's okay, right? Be flexible, and then you know, understand what you want to accomplish. You like create a list so you know. Is that kind of what you're?
Sure. I'm ADD on my top 3 things. there's several things that I've thought about, and you know, I as I'm working on things, I think about what you, our viewers, would be interested in. You know, both what we're thinking and what we're doing, how we're doing things. You know, when's the best time to plant a tree? 5 years ago, and you know, when we were driving, you know, before we started even driving here, but on the way here, it's like, oh, the first thing I want to do is plant some apple trees, and it's like, well, really and truly, you know, first thing, you got to get your house and so forth. But we did order bare root trees, and they got here earlier than what we had thought, even that weekend. So again, drop everything, get those in the ground.
And for whatever reason, every tree, we ordered several bare root trees, and every time the trees came, it was raining. Every time, for whatever reason, every time the trees came, it was raining.
Yeah.
So.
But that's good because they're bare root and they need to get their roots established. But yeah, I don't know, and it's good. You know, always do your research too. I mean, there's a great book out there, Strategic Relocation. I liked it. We
didn't follow everything in strategic relocation, but it had good advice.
It did have good advice, and we did. North Carolina did come in higher on the list, but
I think Utah and Idaho were his 2 favorites.
Utah,
right?
and it's just, I mean, it's everything from the weather to earthquakes to
military installations. Targets,
military targets, all those things. But it's an interesting book, just as far as researching and know the areas too. I mean, we really thought we were going to end up in Marshall, North Carolina, and every house that we've been watching, sometimes 2 or 3 years, just went off the market. I mean, sold, and that's, you know, our realtor David, great guy, he found this place. This is the first place we looked at, and he's like, got a lot of usable land.
First place we physically looked at.
Right.
I would say,
Yeah, physically looked at. And we're like, well, we don't want to buy the first place we've looked at. So we looked at a couple others straight up, little infrastructure, and we're like,
straight up the mountain,
yeah,
very little land.
And it's like, okay, well, let's do it. So, and thank God we did, really and truly. I mean, we got Larry and his family around us, and they're wonderful people.
Great neighbors all around. They're really good people.
Yeah, they're not neighbors, they're family now. They really are.
We've got Travis and Emily, Gail, and I mean, everybody's been really great. Yeah, Cynthia and Aaron.
Yeah, this whole holler is just wonderful people, and we are blessed to be where we are. So,
and I would say some of the more important things are, like, make sure, like, for us, like, we didn't know, a lot of the land we were looking at was raw land, so we knew, okay, are we gonna have to put in a well? Are we gonna have to put in a septic? Like, all of these other expenses, and a well can get very expensive. Thankfully, we moved to a homestead that had a well and had electricity. It needed a lot of work, but there was no way we did it from scratch, because, like I said, it had a barn, it needs work, but it had a barn, it had a well, it had electricity to it, and eventually we are going to move off grid to solar, but that's very expensive. So we're trying to get the house done, and then we'll save up for solar and kind of add that as we need to. But you have to make sure that the property that you're getting can support some of that infrastructure. You have to make sure that it can have water. You have to make sure that we have to have an internet connection because of his work. So we had to make sure that the house that we were moving to could have high-speed internet. If you are lucky enough to be able to retire or quit your job and purchase a home, it might not be as necessary for you to need internet. But these are all things that you need to think of. Thankfully, we have water, but I know that show Homestead Rescue, we watch it, and so many people like, well, we don't have water. And I'm like, water is life, though. That's like, first thing you've got to do is make sure you've got water on your homestead. Like, that to me is the absolute priority.
You can sleep in your car if you had to, but without water, you're really in trouble.
Yeah, you can't live, your animals can't live, you can't garden. So, those things you have to take into account. What is the topography of the land? How does the sun fall? How does the water drain, right? Like, we waited, so we moved in here, it was a year ago today that we moved in, and we waited. We wanted to get a garden in right away, but we really wanted to see, okay, how does the sun settle on the property? How does the water fall? Where are the slopes? And so we watched for several months. And then that's after those several months is where we decided this is where we want the garden. This is where, and the chicken coop's temporary right now, but we know different places where we're going to put the coops. How are we going to rotate in the field? How are we going to rotate our animals? Like, all of those things came after we had been here for several months.
Right, and the chicken coop was made to be portable. I mean, not like a chicken tractor where you can move it every day, but it is on skids.
Which is, the chicken tractor's coming. We just haven't had a chance. Another hole in the bucket, right?
Yes. Right. But because we didn't know exactly where that chicken coop needed to be, and we didn't need to, but we wanted to have chickens. We'd ordered chickens and ducks and all those, but just have a contingency.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Just watch your land. Do your research. Make sure it can support what you want to do, and know that it is a lot of work. Like, homesteading is a lot of work. It isn't. I know sometimes we watch videos, and all of a sudden, you've got, you're seeing these beautiful food forests, but people have worked to put all of that in. So just remember, and if you're not afraid of hard work, great. This is definitely not an easy life, but it is a rewarding life. And like I said, we jarred last weekend. We were able to take chicken that we processed at Billy's, take our vegetables, and jar up, chicken soup that we made with our vegetables and made with the chicken that we processed that Billy graciously let us take home. And we were able to put food aside for ourselves for the winter. We were able to jar the tomatoes. We froze and squash, and we're getting ready to do more jarring of other tomatoes. That it was so rewarding to know that we had grown that, and we were able to put that food away, and we will have food over the winter. So it's extremely rewarding, and I would say I don't regret this decision in the slightest. I am so glad we're here. I feel like we are blessed beyond measure to be able to homestead. I really do.
Yeah.
It's a calling. I think it's a calling, though.
Yeah, it is, and my only regret about being here is that our family's still in Arizona. I miss our kids.
Yeah, I'm hoping our kids eventually move out here.
And we'll talk about it in the future, but I think Mom and stepdad Jack will be moving out here very soon. But
and my dad actually just bought a home in Virginia from Arizona, so
he's 5 hours from us now, so that's really exciting. Look forward to being able to visit with him.
We are enjoying the guineas. They're stupid as all get out, but they do a good job getting rid of the ticks.
William was right on that. They are stupid.
And William, we hatched more guineas today if you want some.
That's right. That's right. And Mama Bird's sitting down there. She's gone broody on 16, at least 16 eggs.
Yeah, we will be selling those, and the keats that we hatched today will be selling as well. We don't need any more, but
or once they get big enough, we'll just round them all up. We'll take them to the top of the mountain and turn them loose.
No, we won't.
They can eat ticks until something eats them.
We aren't.
It's the circle of life.
He's not going to do that. Not. They have their perch. They're in the barn. That's all closed in. And at night they go in and they fall asleep in there. And we lock them up to make sure they're safe. And then they come out in the morning and wander all over the property.
So let's see what else. A year later.
I
can't believe we've been here a year. So much has been
it's been a lot
done and accomplished. And if you ever wind up on a property in North Carolina, I can promise you'll have some of that lovely rose bush. So it's a good,
and rocks in the mountains.
Yeah, if you ever
we flattened. We did. Now we're not necessarily going to be tilling every year, right? We don't want to do the till method, but to get the garden started, it had never had a garden on it. It was full of grass. We had to till, and I can't even tell you how many rocks we pulled out of the garden area that we put in. And we're actually going to be, we've got a huge garden, but we're actually going to be extending it. Things that we've learned this year, we're going to be extending it and doing some things different with the pumpkins and the squash, the watermelons and all that next summer. But this year was our learning year. We learned a lot, and now we know that tomatoes grow like crazy here.
Yeah. And so do the vining plants. I mean, we literally tiptoe through the garden to get
things
around.
Grow here. That's just incredible. Things grow here.
And we knew that. We just
being in Arizona, it was. I think we knew it, but we just, when you mentally know it and then you physically see it, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, our expectation was here, and it was about 70% above our expectations.
Yeah, very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
Because Arizona, we had to fight tooth and nail to get things to grow.
Yep.
Shade cloth in the summer. I mean, our strawberries always did well, but shade cloth in the summer and
water 2-3 times a day.
Yes. Oh gosh, it was just try to keep things alive.
Yeah. So I know one of the other things that we would like to invest in, but we'll see at some point. But I really like the Harvest Right freeze dryers, the food freeze dryers, and it seems. I'm sorry, man, the bugs are jumping at me. It just seems like it would be a smart move from the standpoint that, once you've got stuff freeze dried and you vacuum seal it, you don't need any refrigeration. It's shelf stable for years. So, if okay, let's go down that road. Grid down, no electricity. Say we don't have our solar set up. We've got safe food that's preserved. We can dehydrate, but side by side, I've seen a lot of comparisons, and people say that the freeze-dried food texture and taste and everything is just like it was just fresh picked or just out of the oven kind of thing. Whereas, anybody who's had beef jerky, it changes, dehydrating changes the texture, and it will change the flavor. Still edible, still a viable way of preserving food, but you've only got so much freezer space to freeze things, and you can till we've got tomatoes coming out our ears, and here comes the chickens because they think we're going to give them some tomatoes. But there's only so many jars, and it is a long process. It took hours to get those tomatoes jarred up.
Worth it though.
Oh, absolutely worth it. No, I love it. Like Denise said earlier, it's just such a great feeling to know we grew this, no chemicals. Our hands put those seeds in the ground, and here we are picking the fruits of our labor. And in the winter when it's cold and the tomato plants are long dead, we'll enjoy that again, for the third time really. And we haven't even started digging up our potatoes yet.
No, we have to start that.
Yeah, that should be should be exciting.
You know, so definitely we encourage this lifestyle. We love this lifestyle. Do your research. Make sure you tamper your expectations, because this is going to be harder than what you think it will be. Even if you're expecting it, it will be harder than you think. And plan. Have your water. Make sure you've got some way to preserve your food. Place for your garden. Just plan.
Two is one is none.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that brings me to the one thing that I would say is, if you want to do this lifestyle, or any lifestyle, anything that you're wanting to do, seek prayer first.
Yeah.
Really seek God, ask Him. Because we had obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. Just even trying to leave Arizona, it was one thing after another, and we were like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Are we supposed to stay here? What's happening? But we knew in our spirits that God was like, no, I've got a plan for you. I know where you're supposed to be. And this property was a little bigger than I wanted, but it was the land that Ben wanted. But when we looked at it in comparison to others, I mean, it needed a lot of work, but we had infrastructure here. We had pasture fields that we could put animals on. There were so many positives, and things just started to fall into place, and we knew this is where God was leading us to. And I would say seek God in prayer and ask, really determine what His plan for your life is, because you might have something and God may throw a curveball at you and go, so just, I would say seek God first, pray first about, where you're supposed to be, what God wants you to do. And that's going to be your best bet, is just to follow God.
And be specific. God
Yes,
has
be
God
specific.
has
Yes,
a sense of humor.
Yes, He does.
But yeah, and that's a great point. And we're in the past, we've talked about the prepper mentality, and we are at the end of a dead end road. We have 2 water sources coming out of the mountain with nobody above us. Nobody can touch that water before we can, along with the well. So I mean, we really landed right, but it's things that we prayed for. I mean, it's help us find the right location, help us find, we tried to be as specific as we could. When we were talking about it, talking with God about it, and here we are. And so it's amazing. And this has been a very long journey for me in particular. I mean, us together, but when I was 7 years old, and I think I've shared the story, I went with my grandmother, who recently passed, back to her family home that her dad built, my great-grandfather built from a Sears catalog. I was 7 years old, and kind of caught the bug, and it's like, I would love to be on a farm. I would love to live this lifestyle. I mean, he seemed happy, and Grandma had wonderful, fond memories of it, and just going through life, and I was born and raised in Arizona, and left almost 51 years later and moved 2,000 miles and landed here. I still pick up some of Great Grandpa's tools and think about him, and imagine he'd be pretty excited about this.
Oh, he sees it.
Yeah,
He sees it, just like Jake does.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do wish Jake were here with us. He would be having a blast. The one problem with that is, we're gonna build paddocks up there for the sheep and the cat. We'll have a couple cows here, hopefully before too long. The problem with Jake being here is we would have a runway right up the middle of the pasture.
He'd be trying.
He would be trying. We'd come out in the morning and be like, we'd see everything kind of matted down, and next thing you know, we'd see solar run lights or something, and go out in the shop, and he'd probably have a half an airplane built out there.
Love to fly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle, the dirt bike.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I don't think I mentioned yet. My motorcycle finally got here from Arizona, so everything left in Arizona that the material wise is now here. So
hopefully our kids will be here one day.
yeah, hope so. I pray for that. But we just need a nice dry weekend, and we'll take the motorcycle out on the Blue Ridge Parkway and go for a ride. So I know we've run really long, and we'll probably try to edit this down for you because some of this is just, you might not care, but a year later, I just thought it would be a good chance for us to sit down and talk to you, and things we've learned, things we do different. I love it. I go to bed, I'm beat. I usually do almost 20,000 steps, which is like 5 miles every day, just running back and forth, and that's on a regular work day. As soon as I get off work, I'm go. And then Denise is stuck editing all my videos because I just record everything. She's like, we need to put more videos up. There you go. There's some more recordings. I don't know. You filter it out. What was I trying to accomplish? I'm just sharing.
But I think the thing is too, and another point I want to say, make sure your spouse is on board.
Yeah.
Because this is not, like he said, this is not a lifestyle for everyone. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. Like I said, we've worked really hard to get the land to where it is, and to get the things that were overgrown, the areas that weren't growing that are now growing, that we've been able to really help with in just a year, just with animals and rotten hay. So there have been a lot, we've learned a lot from Greg Judy and Jill Salatin, and we're always learning, right? Like that's the thing is be open to learning, because be open to learning from your mistakes, especially because you will make mistakes. It is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. You learn from them and you move on. But your spouse really needs to be on board for something like this. So I would just make sure that you and your spouse are on board, and then seek God and make sure that you have a plan, and that God, this is where God's leading you to.
I would agree with that. But there's a lot more to come. There's some exciting things coming up, and we'll share those as we can. And
I think that's it.
I think that's about it. Yeah, I think we're going to be going up and helping Billy with some earthship work here before too long. I hope. I think that'll be exciting. I look forward to learning. Earthship's not something I think I've ever aspired to live in, but I would love to help build something like that, just for the learning experience. But now I'm going to go clean up some more so the contractors can come into a clean work site and hit it hard on Monday. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for hanging in there with us. Here's to the past year and a great year going forward. We'll keep sharing, and you keep hitting that like button and sharing for us. And I guess we'll see you on the next video. Take care of each other. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.